I'll add it in. But maybe, that's good I didn't record that part. Y'all the only ones that heard me say that about the trustee relationship, and y'all the only ones that need to say it. Certain things I won't say out there because it shuts down all of their little theories. And the reason why that stuff don't work is it's just fantasy. It's not that you're doing anything wrong with the process or there's something missing. It's not how beneficiaries, all they did was, like she said, challenge that trust, and then I don't know, what happened with that case?
It was thrown out. They determined.
Did the beneficiaries get what they want? They didn't get anything.
Because he was following the trust indenture.
Right. He was following the rules of the trust indenture. Right. Okay. See? But if he wasn't following the trust indenture, what happened?
It could have been collapsed.
Right. But now, when y'all follow the rules of how they trust indenture, the whole system is a trust, right? So when they created the debt collection laws, that's the trust indenture for debt. The rules on how debt is supposed to be governed in this country. And in the debt collection rules, it says without your express consent, they can't contact you. So that initial phone call that they call, hey, you know, I'm a debt collector. I'm calling on behalf of a debt, and everything I say is for that debt. Even that call is a violation because you never gave that debt collector express consent to even contact you about the debt.
Is that under status correction or any?
Anything. Debt collection is one of the easiest things. I'm glad you asked that. Let's talk about that status collection thing. The reason why I have you do status is not so you can get any special privileges or anything like that. Although you do sometimes get it. You do. That's one of the things. Special things do happen, but I don't teach it for that. I teach it because you've been walking under an illusion or a lie all your life, and all I'm trying to do is get you to walk all of that back. So that no one could ever come and say to you, well, why are you paying your tax? You ain't do a 1040 form. I said, well, I ain't do it because I'm not listening to trust indenture to do it. What is the trust indenture for the IRS? What is the express trust of the IRS? Their codes, the IRS codes. It tells you exactly who's responsible for a 1040 form. And anybody read that? What does it say? It says, this form is for U.S. citizens or non-resident aliens. Who in here is one of those? Who can define themselves as that? After I showed y'all that. How many people can say that they are that? Well, then answer, I'm not that. And guess what? The Department of State agrees with me because they sent me back a certified copy of my application where I showed y'all I wasn't that and have my affidavit attached to it. Now, until you can prove otherwise, then we got nothing to talk about. Like I always tell, it's the same story. I was helping a guy with a serious criminal charge. He did that zero tax return thing. And they didn't bother him. They didn't try to lock him up, do nothing. They didn't try to lock him up until they had took his property and he went to the courthouse and was trying to prevent the sale of the property. That's when they came after him criminal charges. Now he had did those zero tax returns for years. And then it came back on him. How do I keep this from going to sleep? Oh, how? It's an Apple.
Yeah, I'm talking. He's saying, like, don't tell you as soon as that you put the screens.
But no, I just keep hitting the button. So we drafted this affidavit saying he wasn't a U.S. citizen before where I'm at now. Drafted this thing to put into his case saying he was a U.S. citizen. And the district attorney pulled out his application for the passport where he checked off he was a U.S. citizen. That's what he used as proof. And that opened my eyes because I was like, whoa, why didn't they just go get the driver's license? Why didn't they get tax return? Why didn't they get all his W-9s that he filled? Why didn't they get that? They got the very document that claims your citizenship, is your passport. That's what determines your nationality. To them, that's how they read it. Having a passport doesn't determine your nationality. Having a passport just shows what you claim to be, what you filled out. So he used his very hand against him, and he went to jail. He couldn't get around it. He went to jail for a couple of other reasons. He wasn't, really listening. He was trying to get me to help him, but then he was going to this guy who had this, just accept the charges. You ever heard that one? Accept the value, the charges, that crap. Now, somebody makes sense. How do I accept something, a criminal charge for value, and settle the matter? That's kind of saying I'm guilty. To me, that's what it sounds like. Right? Let's settle the matter and all of this crap. I've never seen where it worked, and everybody that used it ended up either going to jail or getting on probation or something else. Huh? Using A for B, it's another. They call it A for B, but it's another way of calling it accept the value, the charges. Let's just settle it because it's your trust and let the trust pay for it. But if I'm paying for something, I'm saying I'm guilty. That's just the way I look at it. I don't know. These dummies, they do that all the time. All right, so this scripture says, 1 Corinthians 2:7, but we speak the wisdom of God in a mystery. That's why I talk about it. Because only people that really gonna hear what I'm saying, they gotta have their mind on that frequency, that spiritual frequency. The hidden wisdom which God ordained before the ages for our glory, which none of the rulers of the age knew, for had they known, they would not have crucified the Lord of glory. All right, that's second sentence. So what he's saying, these things we also speak not in words with man's wisdom teaches, but which the Holy Spirit teaches, comparing spiritual things with spiritual. But the natural man does not receive the things of the Spirit of God. So, if you operate out of natural sense, you're not going to get the Spirit of God at all. Nothing's come from the physical. Everything starts here in the spiritual realms of the mind. A lot of people want to put it out there in heaven, but the real heaven is in here, how you create it. Y'all listening, young men? This is where this is heaven here. And it could be hell, depending on what you're thinking. It could be both. Everything's here. And this comes from the things unseen. That's how this came about. Somebody sat down, you know what, I'm going to just take some water out of the faucet and put it in this bottle and just stick Fiji on it, and I'm going to sell it. I'm just saying, I don't know. They say it comes from where? Artisan, Fiji Foundation, created in 2007, blah, blah, blah. It comes from somewhere. Solvin Basin Rainforest. I don't know that.
No, Fiji water comes from Fiji. That's how they pay their debts off.
Huh?
They pay their debts off with that water.
Right? Okay, so it comes from Fiji.
China's been trying to put them back in debt.
Okay. All right. Well, they said this is where it come from, Fiji. Okay. But still, I haven't seen it. Because somebody can come in here and just slap the stick on it with the same bottle and say it could be Michigan water, Flint. Flint, Michigan water. I don't know, South Carolina, right out the Congaree. I don't know. But I know it tastes better than that faucet water, I can tell you that. But this came about through an idea. So all of your trust and everything comes from how you want it to be. I can't tell you how what you want to do with your trust. I can give you an outline, but you could do pretty much. Anyone who's gotten a trust from me, you could take that trust, redo it, and change it up, make it say whatever. Holy Spirit teaches comparing spiritual things with spiritual, but the natural man does not receive the things of the Spirit of God, for they are foolishness to him. And y'all already know that. Have you ever tried to speak spiritual things to a person who ain't ready to receive it? Have you ever tried to speak this information to somebody who ain't never ready to receive it? They start doing this. The eyes start going up here. That's how I know who's listening to me. I look at their eyes, and their eyes start getting sleepy. That's because you're going against the programming, and it can't get in there. It's like they short-circuiting for real. Like what you they short-circuit it out. Like, hey, wait a minute, what you talking about? That's over my head. Wait a minute. I just said something plain. It sounds plain to you because you in tune with that. So, for they are foolish him, or nor he can he know them? Because they are spiritually discerned. See, everything is spiritually discerned. I had a lot of people say, why you doing it in New Orleans? Like, what's wrong? I said, because I just was moved to do it here. And I'm glad I did. Look at the crowd. We have a decent crowd here. And then traveling around and looking at these buildings, I said, wait a minute. They got the most dense, ancient buildings right here in this little French Quarter, this little area right here. This is not a huge area. This is all of these ancient buildings that's been here that they kind of claim they built that they didn't build, you know? So, but he who is spiritual judges all things, that he himself is rightly judged by no one. So what this is saying, if you set up all of your affairs spiritually, you can be judged by no one. No court, nothing. Not even your trust. That same situation she brought up about the trust. So if you create your trust under your religious beliefs, they can't even come in, even if the beneficiaries came in with a question. They can't touch it. I know they have rules on certain things, but if I'm setting it up there, now I'm going by these rules that I create. And if I create something with my own constitution, that's the way I'm running my life and running my affairs. Y'all don't have no right to question anything. See, I can go take that same document I just showed y'all, put in there. This trust is governed by the Spirit of God, and no man shall question it. Just put that statement in there. I just gave y'all a tidbit. Yeah, you ain't writing that down? Don't come asking me later. Right. That did. That's one. That's very good. Then the very statement in the Constitution that says no government authority shall question your religious freedoms. This is kind of messed up when it comes to, this is the bad part when it comes to religion. This is why none of these priests have gotten in trouble when they did the pedophilia things with the kids. Like Jehovah's Witnesses had a big problem where these guys were molesting young children, and then they have a rule in Jehovah's Witnesses, we need 2 witnesses. They follow the Bible. You need 2 witnesses for it to be true. So you have the kids saying this person did it, but if there's not a second witness, they couldn't act on it, right? And they went to court. And case after case got thrown out just because that was their religious belief. But eventually, I think in London, they found a way to get out of that, to fix that problem that was going on.
They weren't liable because they were following what was in there.
Right. They were following what their bylaws said. Showing you that a religious structure has ultimate power over the government. Even, see, these constitutions were created off church doctrine. So this is basically a Christian. They say they about everybody. It's really a Christian-run nation because the Protestants is the one who created a lot of these constitutions in different states.
Yeah.
You saying something?
Yeah, when you said the Protestant, that's just like when you look at the different versions of the Bible, like what you coming out of, where you like say the King James versus the Geneva Bible, and the Protestants they were under the Geneva Bible,
Right.
Versus the Roman civil law is under the King James version.
Mm-hmm. Right. And they all. The Catholic Church is a business. Let's not get it, but it's a religious business. It's a religious non-profit, not-for-profit business.
I want one of those.
The church has taught you how to worship the Bible on a small level, or worship God on a small level, but they never show you how to run your life. Because if they showed you how to do what they do, then you don't need them. You don't need them. Huh?
Just like in my little area, how the Jews.
See, that's a very good example, the Jews. Yeah. I'm from Bed-Stuy.
Okay.
Crown House, they had the whole, they would, I think in the 70s, some of the 80s, it was the Hasidic Jews and those, the Muslims with the guys that wear the garb.
Israelites.
Were they called Hebrew Israelites back then?
They're on Rogers. They was on Rogers.
No, I'm talking about the guys who used to wear the white.
The long robes.
Yeah, they used the white. They were Muslims, and they lay their mat down and start praying right there in the middle of the street. Yeah. Then they sell all the incense and stuff like that. Yeah. That and the oils. Yeah. They in the Crown Heights part of Brooklyn, and then what's that other part up there by Ridgewood or Ridgeway?
You talking about?
Where Bushwick Bill used to live. Peace, prosperity, and extreme wealth to everyone. Hope everybody's doing well. I know that was a long intro. I know. Guess what happened? I had the show all ready to go. Some update came and everything got switched around and I had to redo everything. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry, y'all. Turn this, get some light up in here. So I hope y'all enjoyed the intro though. Somebody give me a shout out in the chat if you enjoyed that intro. Let's see. Joe TV 13 says, great to see me. Thank you, brother. Thank you. Great to see you too. Long time no see. Joe TV, who's that? Do I know? Remind me of who you are. I know a couple of Joes. A lot of Joes. Joe TV. Yeah, Joe, yeah, you're right. He got, this is what he said. How do I add to broadcast? He says, free white person is correct and explains the same thing in the SF 181 form. Correct. Absolutely. Who's out there? C. King Bay says, peace, everyone. All right. Man, I'm sorry, y'all. I didn't do a show all last week up until Sunday. I left when I went on a hiatus. We all went, the family, we went on a hiatus. Took a break. So I left the country. And but I'm back and I'm busy as ever. I'm trying to run the trucking company, get the loads running. And I'm also busy with seminars. I got a bunch of seminars coming up. A bunch. I got Vegas is coming up this month, towards the end of this month. We're gonna work in a DC, Washington DC, one, or Maryland. We're gonna work, and we doing another one in Atlanta. The host that hosted the seminar in Atlanta was so impressed with the information, they want to do another one and do it bigger than this one. So that's in the works. So that I could actually give you the dates for the Atlanta one. That's October 21st, 22nd. I could tell you that. The DC one I can't give you. The Las Vegas one is August 26th, 27th, something like that. All those flyers, that's this month, few weeks. That's locked in. That date is locked in. And I'm going to be bringing it. I'm going to tell you what happened at the Atlanta seminar. All the stuff that I prepared to talk about got erased. I was on a plane. I wanted to go over some things, add some to the notes, and I pulled up some documents. And they just went blank on me on the plane. As soon as I connected to the internet, it went blank, everything. So I was like, oh, man, I really wanted to show them this information. Now, I did recover the document that got erased, like after the fact, because I had a redundancy on another hard drive and forgot it was there. And, when it happens, when you're in the midst of something, sometimes your mind don't work right. So when I was more relaxed, I was able to find it. So I will share it at the next seminar. I'll share what I wanted to share at this seminar. But thank you to the ancestors, God in me, the Holy Spirit helped me remember everything off the top of my head. I tell you, that scripture is real. Do not worry about what you have to say. I will give you the very words you need to say in that hour. And that was what I worked off of. I said, it's going to work out. I'm going to know what I'm going to say. And it turned out to be better than I anticipated. It's like, this is why I tell you guys to study. Because imagine if I just relied solely on my notes and never studied anything and tried to remember all of that stuff to say, I would have been lost. But see, the Holy Spirit only works with you to give you the words you need to say. I'll say this again. The Holy Spirit, God's Spirit, your ancestral messages, the Akashic records, only works with you if you are walking in the spirit of that information, meaning working, walking, living in the spirit of the information that you're teaching. Because your whole energy is connected to it. So when you start opening your mouth to speak, everything's just coming. Boom, 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 out. I don't even know how to describe how it works. I'm going to try to describe it as best I can. When I'm delivering a message, images are popping in my head in rapid succession after the other. And the images show me exactly what I need to say. You wonder why your ancestors did everything in pictures and images? Because images is what locks in the information. Because you can look at an image and deliver a whole speech off of one image. You see the image, you see the picture in your mind, and boom, you can speak on it. See, images pop in my head. And what images are popping in my head? Stuff that I have studied and I'm recall. I'm having what you call a total recall. Right? Do y'all know that most people are disconnected from their total recall? And this is why we live in a space of not knowing our purpose. See, you're encoded before you even get here. You're already encoded with all of the truth, all of the knowledge that you need. You have all of the knowledge of the universe, the galaxies at your disposal, the multiverse, the multiple dimensions. You have all of this knowledge. So when you start talking about it, all you're doing is recalling. When your energy, the level of your energy reaches the frequency of that information, you're just recalling. It's not new information. But what happened to us? Why did we fall short on our memories? Why did we fall short on our purpose? Because you have been programmed to only remember what society has taught you from birth. The moment you came out of your mom's womb, the first thing they do is slap you with trauma. That's why the babies start crying. They don't come into this world in peace. They come into this world with trauma. They inflict trauma on you at the moment you hit this world. And what happens when you have trauma? When you're hit with trauma? This is total recall. I didn't plan to say this. This is all total recall. I'm just showing you. I'm living out what happens. When you hit with trauma, think about trauma you've hit. That's all you can remember. And at that moment, you forget everything. All you're thinking about is just trauma. They spank you, boom, breathe, and you start crying. Why? Because the baby ain't supposed to automatically be disconnected from the mom. That baby's supposed to be still connected to that umbilical cord for a while until the mom finished downloading all of the information into that being, that boy, that girl. She's giving her divine energy to the child, a divine memory that she don't even remember, but it's still working in the background to give that child everything. But they cut the cord. They cut the cord of divine connection too soon. That cord is pulsating, pumping information. Oh, it's just feeding the baby nutrition. Yeah, it is feeding the baby nutrition. It's feeding it physical nutrition and spiritual nutrition. Y'all are y'all understanding what I just said? That they shut you down at birth and then they snatch you away from your mom, the connection, and pull you over where she can't even see the child. And this strange being is looking down at this child, traumatizing. And in that moment, and in those seconds, those precious seconds, that child has lost most of its divine memory. So, with me saying that, why are we still using these people institutions to deliver our divine children? Why are we dealing with there's so many people out with the knowledge that could help you have a home birth? There's birthing centers. Well, we got the money. We got billions of dollars to buy junk. How come we can't create our own birthing centers to deliver our children? Why? And the reason, okay, let me say this. The reason why we don't do these things because of what I just said. Your memory has been cut off. Your divine memory has been cut off. And now all you think to do is to rely on what systems are saying. The governmental system, the educational system, the financial system. Which, by the way, is about to have a big problem come later on this month. They say around August 22nd. We won't get into that. See, that's why I got to be a part of the Telegram group, because that's why I play stuff that I won't play on YouTube. I played a video, a YouTube video by Robbie Kiyosaki and another guy who's is an expert on finances and money. I told y'all a long time ago, I'm sidetracking now, to buy y'all some silver. If you can, buy some gold. I know gold is a little expensive. You should not be holding large amounts of cash in the bank. It's only insured up to $250,000. So if you got over $250,000 and then the bank collapses, you're only going to get $250,000. So how about transferring some of that cash into hard assets like gold or silver? Or he actually gave a tip on putting it into some other, transferred it into some other, treasury bonds or something like that. But listen to the video. I think I put the link in here. There's a link to the video. I close out that window, so I'm not going to go looking for it. But they're expecting a currency reset. A lot of these other countries are going to a gold-backed currency again. And where does that leave us? I'm not saying it's going to be this tragic thing. I don't know. But I know something is going to happen. Let me tell you how I know something is going to happen. For over the last year, my homeboy Thomas was at his house. He has a cousin who works for Brinks. And he says we don't hardly even deliver. We deliver less than half of what we used to deliver to the bank as far as cash. So that if that ain't a warning to those dollars, I don't know what is. See, they've been preparing for these changes for a long time. They know the current situation is not sustainable. They know that. Look at the prices of food. It's ridiculous. They know that the average, a six-figure income is considered low income now. That's pretty much like average. Six-figure income is living from paycheck to paycheck now. Huh? That ain't nothing. So that's why you need to be trying to get a 7-figure plus income. And you can get it. Listen, world economy is never going to dictate my prosperity. That's just because the reason why these things happen is because people believe in brokenness and stuff like that, and they fall for it. I don't believe in that. I know things change, so I try to change with the change and be on the winning side of things. But let me rewind back to where I was talking about. Your divine memory has been erased or overridden by trauma. That's what happened. This is why you can't figure out what you want to do from day to day. That's why you can't get anything done and you stuck in this rut. That's why it's so easy for people to just go get out there and work for someone, because they don't have to think it hard like that. All they got to think about is doing what they agreed to do for that job. Do y'all realize it's much easier? It's much easier to create your own business and make lots of money than it is to work for someone else and make a lot of money. You got to wait for them to give you a raise or decide to give you a raise if they give one. And then if they give you a raise, you best believe when it's time to cut back, you're going to be one of the first ones to go because you're a high paying person and we can cut that salary and save money. They giveth and they taketh away. I know. I've been laid off, 3 times? fired once. When I got fired, that was the best thing that ever happened to me in my life. Didn't feel like it at the time, but when I think back on it, if they never did have fired me, I would not be here talking to you right now. So I'm thankful being fired. I'm thankful they cut me off from that low income. I'm thankful they cut me off for that 40 hours plus overtime job. They cut me off from having to wake up and be to the job whenever they told me to be there. I'm thankful for that. Thank you. What was the guy's name who fired me? Scott something. Scott Makovich. I think his name was. He was a new manager trying to prove himself, and he fired me. I'm glad. Thank you, Mr. Makovich. You did me such a favor all of those years ago. It didn't feel like it. I felt like a victim at the time. I was like, oh, he's a racist. He's this and that. And if he was a racist, I'm thankful he was a racist. Because if he wasn't a racist and that was his motivation for firing me, thank you for being a racist and firing me from that mundane getting up. And I didn't even have set hours. Like I had to be there at a certain time, then leave late, and I really wanted to achieve a lot with that job. I really wanted to go up to management, do all of this. I was in management. I was a department manager, but I wanted to go higher. I had all these. I want to do. This is where my vision was locked in on. Well, what I do remember is prior to that, I wanted to own my own business. And when I got into this job, I put that to the side because I'm making some I wouldn't even say okay money. It was money just enough to pay the bills. I can remember after we paid daycare, and I remember this vividly. After I paid daycare and all the other bills, I only had probably $50 to make it to the next check for the next 2 weeks. So thank you, Scott Makovich, for stopping me from making that little bit of money and only having $50 to get to my next check in 2 weeks. I appreciate you. I am so right now, y'all think I'm joking. This is a joke. This is not a joke. I am like reminiscing. My memory is coming back of those times when I went through. My son that's downstairs right now was a toddler at the time. I think it was like 2 years. Well, yeah, he was like 2 years old. Now he's 28. So 26 years ago. I'm sitting here like overjoyed when I think about the tough times I went through trying to feed him and take care of a family on that meager, low income. Thinking that was it. And all I had to do was work my way up and they give me a raise. Killing myself to beg these people to give me a raise. And when I did get a raise, it was only like 50 cents. And they thought that, oh, yeah. And other people were like, man, they gave you 50 cents. And they were like, wow, they was impressed. Like, what? Are y'all serious? I thought these people were crazy. 50 cents? What was that? That didn't even get me into a new tax bracket. So once again, I am overjoyed and ecstatic that this dude fired me from that job. Now, I'm thankful. And if I had been a little thankful back then, it probably wouldn't have been so tough. I would have saw things differently. But I'm very thankful. I'm thankful for everything that led me up to this point now, to where I could teach you guys the inner workings of how spiritual things work. I'm thankful for the people that don't appreciate it. I'm thankful for the people that do appreciate it. I thank you for the people that listen and follow, and the ones that don't listen and follow. For everybody. See, and this is the key to prosperity, being thankful for all things, because all things is working for your benefit. All things. There's not one thing that you're going through right now that's not working for your benefit. Even that thing you don't like dealing with, that thing you hate, that thing that's bothering you, it is working for your benefit. And if you stop and just be thankful and grateful, that's when your eyes will open and see what the truth is. Let's say, said the journey is beautiful. It is. When you really, some people call it a journey. I love to call it a process. You're being processed and refined to bring out your best of who you are when you go through these different things. And I watch people that I've known from years ago. There's a brother I've known for a lot of years, actually pretty much like 26 years, out of Columbia, South Carolina. His name is Anton Gunn. He actually worked on the Barack Obama when he came to South Carolina. He worked directly with Barack Obama. And although him and I don't agree on some things, but what I like about this brother is I watched his growth from, he was an ex-football player at USC. And now he's public speaking now. And he was a jokester, into rap a lot. Met him, his dad, who has since passed. His brother, I don't think I've met his brother. I think I did. But what I like to see people who, from where they started, they've grown and they're doing something. Changing. What he started, he's not the same. And he's elevating, he's evolving. Ask yourself, if you could look back 20 years ago, are you happy with what you're doing right now? Are you? And if you're not happy, first thing I would say you might want to do is start being thankful for what you have. Until you start being thankful for what you have and what you got, you can't move on to the next. Until I saw the reality of why I got fired. I tell the story a lot, but every time I go back on that story, I realize more. And once I realize more, I get more. See, it wasn't until I realized the reason why I got fired was so that I can be who I am today. See, 10 years ago, I was a barber, owned a barbershop. That's what I was. That's what I was doing. And at the same time, working for Time Warner Cable. That was just 10 years ago. 10 years prior to that, I've been in the barbering game for over, 25, when my son's 26, 26 years, 25, 26 years. Because getting fired from there pushed me into going to barbering school. The same barbering school that I went to 1 year earlier, and the teacher and whoever, they ignored me and my brother. And we walked out. Ready to sign up and pay to be at the school. We walked out because no one even came to talk to us about joining the school. So we just left. Then 1 year later, I'm playing basketball with somebody I know from the Kingdom Hall, which the Jehovah's Witnesses go to. We play basketball. Yeah, I know Mr. T. He owns the school. I know him. I'll talk to him for you. So he goes and talked to him. And I told him, man, at that time, I didn't even have the ability to pay. I was fired from the job. He said, well, I'll tell you what I'll do. You help me run the school, I'll give you a free education. You just do this for me, and I'll give you a scholarship. See how it worked? A year ago, before that, I was trying to pay to be there. They ignored me. Now, what if I was so bitter about that even when my homeboy offered to go talk to him, I turned that down. I overlooked it. I said, man, I ain't got nothing else to do. I'm fired. I don't have a job. Unemployment's going to take forever to come through. Now, I could have just went and got another low-paying job, but something said no. And I decided to go to school instead of go to work and wait for the unemployment to go through. That which is going to take about 10 weeks because that's how South Carolina do it. They penalize you when you get fired. They penalize you to give you that little bit of money. And I was thankful for that. I'm thankful. Somehow, I don't even know how we paid the bills and even kept our place. I don't remember exactly what happened to keep our rent paid. I know one time we was about to get evicted, and her mom, my wife at the time, mom, paid the rent that month. But I don't remember how we put food. Some ways I do know some, but that 10 weeks was like HE double hockey sticks. Hell. Just imagine that. Just imagine I already had 2 sons to take care of. My oldest son was living with his mom and one coming within months. No money. She couldn't work. Man. And there's some things that I'm starting to remember now and how thankful I should have been at that time, and I wasn't. And I think, I know that's what slowed my growth, and that's what slowed my process of being where I am today. That slowed me down, that not being thankful. But sometimes we will be in an unthankful and ungrateful mood just to know that we need to be more appreciative. So sometimes we go into these negative spaces to teach us that we not to be in a negative space. So whoever you are out there who's having issues financially, spiritually, relationship wise, it's working for you. It's working to teach you to suffer through, endure just a little while longer, because guess what? Everything's going to open up long as you stay the course. Long as you keep moving in direction. That man gave me a free education, and that free education changed my life. So if anything happened, I could still go pick up my clippers. I have that skill for life. And I still, out of appreciation for the opportunity that I got from Mr. T or Mr. Tolliver, if he's passed on, I'm sure he's passed on by now. If you could hear me, thank you. And his wife, Miss Tolliver. If that opportunity, I still maintain my license to this day. I still renew it. Out of pure symbolism. Out of pure thankfulness. Because that opportunity set the stage for everything that's happening right now. So, Maxim Moore says the indigenous Nolans in the house tonight, right now. Thank you, brother. Somebody said he's an ex-JW. Yeah. All right, so let's get on to the topic, and then I'm going to shut it down. It said the title of the show is, Will the Real Illegal Aliens, Immigrants, or Aliens Please Stand? So I'm going to read you a case from, it's called Re Ahmed Hassan 48F Super 843. I don't know what that SUPP is. If anybody can tell me what that means, I should have looked at it. That's one thing I didn't look up. I'm going to read this stuff to you to show you who the real illegal immigrants are or aliens. I know the trouble. They want to say the Mexicans and all the people of Spanish descent are the problem. Haiti, all these people are coming in and taking over the country. Blah 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 blah. Let's talk about some truth. Let's show the real deal. You know. And by the way, I had this up on the screen. Can y'all see that? Had this up on the screen. Hang on. And that's free white person. It says free white persons referred to in Naturalization Act as amended by Act July 14th, 1870 has meaning naturally given to it when first using 1 Stat 103C3, meaning all persons belonging to the European race and then commonly counted as white and their descendants, including such descendants in other countries to which they have immigrated. Now, this is out of Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition. I also have the 3rd edition, says the same thing. It includes all European Jews, more or less intermixed with people of Celtic, Scandinavian, Teutonic, Iberian, Latin. Let's make this a little bigger. Yeah. Iberian, Latin, Greek, and Slavic descent. It includes Magyars, Lapps, and Finns, and the Basques and Albanians. It includes the mixed Latin, Celtic, Iberian, and Moorish inhabitants of Spain and Portugal. The mixed Greek, Latin, Phoenician, and the North African inhabitants of Sicily. What? North African inhabitants of Sicily? And the mixed Slav and Tartar inhabitants of South Russia. Remember, they talk about Tartaria too, right? There it is. Tartar inhabitants of South Russia. It does not mean Caucasian race, Aryan race, or Indo-European races, nor the mixed Indo-European, Dravidian, Semitic, and Mongolian peoples who inhabit Persia. A Syrian of Asiatic birth and descent will not be entitled to become a naturalized citizen of the United States as being a free white person. So what they're saying, anybody with that title, free white person, can naturalize as a citizen of the United States. Now, I always make a point to tell you, and one day I'm going to go in depth on this. I want y'all to know, citizen of the United States and U.S. citizen are two different statuses. Just want to let you know that, because a lot of people think it's the same. It's not. Okay? It is. Now, let me share the screen here. There's the what I'm going to be reading from. And I want y'all to pay attention closely. It said, this is Re Ahmed Hassan, District Court, ED, Michigan, SD. Ahmed Hassan of Detroit, Michigan, and pro per. So he was pro per. He came in as himself. Okay? Propria persona. I remember I said that in court one time, and the district attorney tried to make fun of me. He said, "Oh, he's pro per." Now, this is a Supreme Court case, and this is what they put it, improper, which is propria persona, right? Y'all can look that up another time. But this district attorney who went to law school didn't even know what that term was. He tried to make fun of me, but I mean, I didn't get upset because he didn't know. I already know that the educational system is miseducating people into being dumb. I'll say it again. Public education is educating you to be dumb, not smart. I don't care what degree you got. If you got a degree and you still broke, You wasted your money. Okay. Let me move on. I know I just offended some folks intentionally. Yeah. So you can wake up. That you paid all this money for a degree to go work for somebody and be their slave? Education is supposed to take you higher, elevation, not to a mediocre position of servitude. Ancestors talking to, I ain't even drink no alcohol. So whoever is talking through me today wasn't into the alcohol. He's just cutting to the chase. Education, public, is educating you to be not so bright about what's really going on. All right. Sorry if you're offended. There's hundreds of channels out there, thousands of channels that you can tune to if you want to, if you're not liking what I'm saying. I do not apologize for what I just said. All right. Petitioner is an Arab, being a native of Yemen, located in the southwestern part of the Arabian Peninsula. Petitioner was before the court and his skin was undisputedly dark brown in color. The issue here presented in whether petitioner is a white person. So this guy is dark brown in color and he wants to be seen as a white person. So what is this trying to tell you? Is white person an actual color or is it just a status? But let's keep going. The issue presented is a white person within the meaning of the provisions of the Nationality Code, enumerating the classes of people who are eligible for citizenship in the United States, 8 U.S.C.A. Section 703. So, this is why I tell you, education system is educating you to be dummies. Because if just reading this couple of sentences showing that white is not a color. It's a definition within the meaning of the Nationality Code. You want me to read that again? The issue here presented is whether petitioner is a white person within the meaning of the provisions of the Nationality Code, enumerating the classes of people who are eligible for citizenship in the United States. 8 U.S.C.A. Section 703. This is why I tell you the numbers is rigged when they try to tell you white people are majority. This native of Yemen, dark colored, wanted to be classified as white, not because of his skin color, because of he believed he was white because he was written into the provisions of the Nationality Code. Let me keep reading. Affidavits filed by petitioner and one of other persons state that the extremely dark complexion of petitioner's skin is typical of majority of the Arabians from the region from which he comes, which fact is attributed to the intense heat. They try to say he was burnt because it was hot, and the blazing sun of that area. Petitioner claims that, as has been established by ethnologists, the Arabs are remote descendants of, therefore, members of the Caucasian or white race, and that he is therefore eligible for citizenship. Okay, he says he has lineage to the Caucasian. Remember, I just read to you what a free white person is. Now, what I'm talking about is white person. Now, those are two different things. Free white person and white person, according to their provisions, is two separate things. That's why when I started out reading that so that you could see who was a free white person. And in there, you could see they had Moorish people. It was a wide North African out of Sicily. These are all free white persons. Again, complexion is not the issue here. Okay? The decision of the Supreme Court in the United States versus Bagat signed, and all of those numbers, and Ozawa versus United States in all of those numbers, interpreting the statute in question. Control the result here. In those cases, the court held that the statute imported a racial rather than an individual test. The actual color of the skin of the particular individual not being decisive, that the phrase white person was generally synonymous with that of the member of the Caucasian race, as popularly understood. So based on popular opinion, this is what they call white people, right? And that scientific or ethnological classifications of races were not significant in the application of the act. So they're basically saying, this is what they're saying. Listen to what they're saying. They ain't thinking about science when it comes to this, basically, in the ethnicity of the person. They thinking about what the popular opinion was to make these decisions. In the Thine case, the court pointed out that the framers of the statute in employing the term white persons had primarily in mind European peoples who constituted a class from which virtually all of the immigration to this country had come and who readily became assimilated into our civilization. That is a very powerful sentence there. Let me read it again. The court pointed out that the framers of the statute in employing the term white persons had primarily in mind European peoples. So they predominantly thought of European peoples who constituted the class from which virtually all of the immigration to this country had come and who readily became assimilated into our civilization. Interesting way of framing that statement, putting that statement. They're saying European peoples immigrated. They were the virtually all of the immigrants. So when I titled it, "Will the Real Illegal Aliens Stand Up?" This is who we're talking about. What they call white persons, European descent. And they assimilated into our civilization. Wait, ho. I'm going to say this one more time, and some of y'all going to pick up on it. Some of y'all just going to be lost because some of y'all got too many degrees and can't catch what I just said. I'm going to read it again. Who constituted the class for which, this is Supreme Court saying this, by the way, who constituted the class from which virtually all of the immigration to this country had come and who really became assimilated into our civilization. Whose civilization was it that the Caucasian came and assimilated into? Whose civilization was it? The white, what they call in the white race, who they came and assimilated into another society. I didn't say this. This says it. So you mean to tell me the Caucasian George Washington assimilated? All your first presidents was assimilators, right? They that's the story. They come from over here, right? They assimilated into whose society? Huh? Do I need to spell it out? Y'all know if y'all come to my seminars, I talk about this, how our people wrote constitutions. We had a government already in place, and this document stating that they took the government away from us and all this stuff by way of sleight of hand and reclassification of people's native descents. I want somebody to tell me what they gather from what I just read before I keep going. Before I keep going on this, tell me what I just read and what's the meaning of what you got. I actually got Telegram opened up. You guys can get on Telegram and share your thoughts. Let me get the link. Copy invite link. There it is in the chat. And y'all can get on, and I'll open up your mic, and let's discuss this if somebody wants to take a stab at what I just read. This is why reading is important for yourself. This is why reading some of these case law, reading all the history. See, you're not going to get history in those secular education. You're not going to get real history in those regular schools. You're only going to get real history by opening up stuff like this and reading it. This is actually a history lesson based on what happened, what this guy was trying to do. He was trying to get citizenship by being a white person, because what happened, so the government wanted to override a system that was already there by allowing just certain colored people come here and get their citizenship because they had that title. He said, I'm a native. Let's see what this says. I'm a Native American, not African, and that the color of the skin means nothing, and free white persons aren't white people. Right. You're right. He's right. Because I just read that. Some people, brain computers are not computing because they're so stuck on that bad information they can't really gather what I just said. Y'all don't want to get on Telegram? The link, I put that in there and share what y'all thought, what y'all think about this. Well, let me go back to the reading. Let's go back. So, it became assimilated into our civilization. It accordingly held that the petitioner therein, a high caste Hindu who claimed to be of Caucasian race from a scientific classification based upon remote ancestry, was not eligible for citizenship. The court indicated serious doubt as to whether any peoples of Asiatic stock could be considered white persons within the meaning of the statute. See, it was white persons within the meaning of the statute. That's where it was isolated. So white person is just a statute meaning. See, we put these broad labels on people based on what? Street logic. You heard somebody else said it, so we all saying it now. But is it a fact? No, because when you open up these old books, the facts speak way different than what we have in our head based off of our street knowledge or street logic. The court indicated serious doubt as to whether any peoples of Asiatic stock could be considered white persons with the meaning of the statute, but left open for future determination the question of whether some Asiatics might be so closely related to Europeans as to be eligible for citizenship. So, do y'all realize what the government has done? They created classes of people within the statute, and people are calling themselves that. Therefore, you are disconnected from your ancestry and you're disconnected from God. That's not a natural link to your lineage. Because you go to the Bible, they break it down. The tribe of this, the tribe of Judah, Zebedee, all that stuff. They break it down who's who. And this one begot this, that. Oh, that's another. That begotten is another powerful word, which I talked about at the seminar, which I will not go into detail here. We talk about that stuff at the seminar. They don't say white persons and stuff like that. No, you belong to these people named this. And these certain people hold a certain position. Some were priests, some were warriors. All this crap that they want to call you now was all slave titles. Within, guess what? Their trust indenture. See, I that's why I let y'all listen to the seminar when I told you. In the seminar, I told everything's a trust. If you want to know how the trust work, just open up the codes and statutes. Like I said, the IRS trust indenture that's a separate trust between the United States and the IRS has a trust, is a trustee in charge of collections for the Treasury of the United States. They're in charge with making sure they get the bread for the treasury. And you want to know the rules of the trust indenture, go look at the IRS code. So the United States also has citizens. And if you want to know who their citizens are, go look at their code. That described, it just told you. What was it? What was that code it mentioned at the beginning? The nationality code. Just because, see, the issue is people are trying to identify with one of these things here. You don't want to be identified with nothing that says you only want to be identified with one thing. Whatever your religious text says you are. That right there. This is your identity. If you believe yourself to be a man of the Bible, the Christian, this is your thing. If you're Muslim, your Quran, Torah, Jews. Come on. This is when you see all of these different religions, right, around the world, and I don't even know why they even argue about who's right and who's wrong, because they're all right, and then some things they're all wrong. But for the most part, they're all right. Let me tell you why. Because each religion, not the current state, let's just talk about Christianity, not the current status of the religion, state of the religion Christianity, how the European came and revamped it and remixed it, but how it started out originally came from the father of those people. Who was the father of the people? Abraham, right? That covenant he created. And guess what? Abraham is the father of a few religions. That's why they call them the Abrahamic religions. Islam, Muslim, Christianity, Jewish, all those are considered Abrahamic religions. He is the father who gave out the trust indenture that he got from who? His father, the God of that territory. So the Hindus, okay, the Hindus practice the religion of their father, where he got it from, the God of those people. Are y'all getting my point? So there was different lords or gods set up around this planet, and they handed their people the trust indenture, the rules on how to operate. Because if you look at the Hindus, they live very well, for the most part, practicing their faith. Look at the Muslims. They live very well, for the most part, practicing their faith. Christians, for the most part, do live very well. In some communities, they don't, because they're being taught broke ministries, poverty ministries. As one bishop mentioned to me years ago, and I didn't really appreciate what he was saying to me at the time, but now I get it. He said, cheapy churches, broke churches. He didn't want no parts of it. And I thought, oh man, this man's all about the money. And my broke mindset, I was looking down on the statement, but now I've come full circus and I understand fully what he's talking about. Because those cheap ministries, those broke ministries keep people in darkness and living. They're the reason why most people are broke and living from paycheck to paycheck. Because the God that they have adopted is a broke God, a poverty God. That's in their mind. I'm not saying God is poverty. He's not. The perception they have of God is a broke God. See, I could tell you what God you believe in by how you live your life. If you're living in prosperity, you believe in a God of prosperity. If you're living in poverty and always broke, and I lived like that one time, I believed in the God of poverty and brokenness. I know I'm off the subject of what I was talking about. I think I gave you the point. I think I got to it. Let me read this part. It appears that the status of an Arabian under the act has not been definitely settled by the courts. The decision of this court in United States versus Ali, 7F 2nd 728, is not precisely in point because the defendant Ali in that case at the time was admitted to citizenship, claimed to be high caste Hindu, but later in the proceedings to cancel his citizenship claimed that although he was a native of India, he was an Arabian of Arabian blood from remote ancestry. You see? I could go on and on, but I just wanted y'all to see that statement where it said they all assimilated into the same. Whose society was it? It's showing that there was an other government here who created these rules and they got assimilated into what? Our society, our ancestral society. We created all of this. I mean, and this is basically selling you that. All right. Man, an hour and 16 minutes going by already. I've been talking for about an hour. Let's see. Somebody. Let's see. We just add this up here. It says, why does every race other than white have designations before American, African American, Asian American, Native American, but not white? They are just American. Well, they don't need a designation, to be honest with you, because white, by definition, is a U.S. citizen of the United States. Because that title was created within that statute that I just read. Talked about. The nationality code. You see? See, what they were doing was, had all of these Europeans immigrating, and they wanted them to be the dominant of the society. They wanted to increase their numbers. So not only they allowed them to immigrate over here and just automatically get that citizenship title, they also adopted other groups into that title of white and made them citizens. So that why? So that they could build their numbers against the indigenous people that were already here. So if I preach to you for years on end that these are the majority, yes, they're the majority within the statute, the nationality code for the United States, y'all. Yes, they're the majority. But in the grand scheme of nationality and ethnicity, they are the minority. They're not lying when they say they're the majority. Within the United States, I got to bring your focus laser within the United States citizenship code. They're the majority. Okay? In that bubble. Not the worldwide. But see, when you think majority, you think your mind always default to the whole world. No, stop. It's just within that 10-mile square called Washington, D.C. You getting it now? So they're not lying about they the majority. It's truth. It's the truth. Within that code, they the majority. Within that box, within that paperwork. So they're majority just on paper, not in the real world. Remember, you're dealing with a fiction. It's a corporation. It's not a living thing. So within their guidelines, they're that. Somebody put a thumbs down. They ain't like it. Good. See, what did I tell y'all? Did I talk to y'all about haters? What did I tell you about haters? What I tell y'all? If a person's hating on you, they love your information. They like you. They're better than ones that say they like you. See, when a person spends time trying to hate, that means they really like. When they put their energy into trying to put your information down, I know what I'm saying is fire. When they try to put your information down, that's just them saying, man, I really appreciate it. I just gotta let everybody know that no, it ain't good, so they don't believe them. I gotta bring people over my side. I told y'all, haters are your biggest fans. And they also bring you more fans. All right. All right. Let's keep going. Well, not keep going. Let me just close it out. All right. Let's see. Before I close out, let me go to Telegram. Nobody joined the live to speak on it. All right. Well, hour and 20 minutes. I think I gave you a lot to swallow. I'll give you a link. Here, let me give you the link to this, what I was reading. And there's 2 other cases. I just didn't have time to read it. I didn't want to spend all that time reading. Here's another one. That's the one I was just reading. This is another one y'all can read. And here's the third one. There. And somebody said something about the DMV. I thought, get that DMV class date yet? Nope, I haven't set that up. I'll set it up this week, Dax. All right. With that being said, peace, prosperity, and extreme wealth to all.